So I had the pleasure of working with Cory Kite several years ago when he was the leader within the Penn State University's outreach, analytics, and reporting team. And after several very well-deserved promotions at Penn State, he is now currently the data manager there. However, he has recently taken a new position with Solaris Healthcare as their analytics manager. And Solaris Health is not Solaris Healthcare, Solaris Health Partners. And they are a national healthcare platform committed to enhancing access to specialty healthcare and continually improving patient outcomes. So, Cory, again, welcome and thank you.
Thank you for having me, Ken.
Absolutely. So the first question I was going to ask you is, as you look at the value formula, the vision, alignment, leverage, uniqueness, and execution, which of those five do you feel appealed to you or your organization the most, or perhaps maybe another way of looking at it, which one do you feel has given you the most value or the most benefit?
Sure. So thinking through the different components of the value formula, I really feel like uniqueness really stands out to me. It comes to mind most often as I'm just working in everyday life is I find myself from time to time thinking like what does someone bring to the team, and how that can have such a huge impact for the group, that maybe it's a project or just a team dynamic. What is unique about each person on the group? And so I think having those different ways of thinking, or just a variety of backgrounds and expertise in a group or a team, is really valuable to conversations that I'm part of. And I've seen firsthand how uniqueness can help better understand where our team fits within an organization, and very importantly, how others perceive us as a group.
Very, very good. That actually, when you the perspective I think that you're taking there with the uniqueness, in addition to the unique value that the organization, the team that you're part of or that you lead is providing, but also the individual uniqueness of each team member and the special value, the diversity that they bring to the organization, to the team, which is a great way of applying that idea as well. So there are a lot of things out there, a lot of different models and frameworks and things like that. What do you feel, based on your experience with the value formula, makes it unique? And what caused it to appeal to you, for you to be able to, as you said, kind of be part of how you think and how do you do business?
Sure. So what makes the value formula unique for me, and what makes it effective for me, is it's simple. Very easy answer, I guess, for that one. It's simple. It's quick to understand. And from my experience, it was very fast to implement. And as long as everyone's on board, it's very fast to implement. At least it was for us. And something that really stands out to me is the many stories that you share, Ken, and how they apply so directly to the concepts. They really help build that comprehension when you're working through it. And so to me, it's just that the value formula just makes sense.
I appreciate that feedback. There was a review recently from a young lady who had read the book, and she wrote a review and put it on Amazon. And it was almost as if she kind of understood what my purpose was to begin with in writing the book and getting it published. And the title of her review was "Easy to Read, Easy to Understand, Easy to Apply." And that you've kind of gone to the heart of that really was the intention. I mean, I never set out to make something convoluted or difficult, but something that, that did make sense and that did, have a pretty solid structure behind it. So I appreciate that observation. And I think that is something that I was at a conversation recently with a lady I used to work with at Hewlett Packard, and she said that she had been using another kind of methodology to help people create their vision statement. And she said, but it had something like 35 questions. She said it was kind of convoluted. So she said that she really liked the fact that my advice was only about 8 to 10 questions that were more kind of to the point. So again, that that was part of the intention, was to make it simple. So I appreciate that observation and that response. So along the way, did you find that the value formula and the concepts, the principles that are, you know, kind of outlined there, did they help you focus on or accomplish one of your highest priority goals along the way, and, you know, continue to do that perhaps, and, you know, maybe give an example of that, or how that worked?
Sure. So it's been a while since the team that I worked with implemented the value formula. So some of the experiences that we had do go back a little bit. But what we found, but what we used the value formula for was to focus on things that were within our control. So starting small and building out from there. So if we could focus on very specific things that helped us today, that helped us put us in a better position so that we could mature as a group and expand what capabilities we had. So that way we could focus on like those bigger items and those bigger picture things that we really wanted to do, but we just couldn't do right now. And so helping us focus on things that we had control over. And so one of the steps that we did very early on was defining like our wildly important goals. And so if we define what those wildly important goals for the team were, that helped us give us direction for the entire year, because we could apply back to priorities that we had. Maybe we had competing priorities at the time. So we could say, well, this one doesn't align to our important goals, but this one does. So that's what we're going to work on. As a team, we can decide that. And as an individual on the team, you could actually prioritize your work based on that. And you had the authority to do that as a team member. And that was really important, is it gave people the authority and control over the work that they were prioritizing. And so I remember early on, an example was when we were setting these goals, Ken was very adamant that we had to keep it to 2, but we ended up with 3. So our first year we had 3, but I think every year after that we applied the 2 method. So that was a good example. But each year, staff had that input into what those wildly important goals were for us. And so I think that's really why it was so effective for us as a group and really helped us accomplish our priorities.
That's outstanding. Again, you know, I remember, you know, think back to when, you know, we were really working closely together, and yeah, I mean, and I still see, I have a friend of mine who was an executive, and I was talking to him, and I said, you know, how many goals do you have set for yourself for next year? And he said 10. And I said, how many do you expect to accomplish? He said, maybe a couple. I said, then get rid of 8 of them. You know, it's like we tend to want to do a whole lot. You know, achievers want to achieve, but it really takes discipline to focus down on those 1 or 2 or maybe 3, you know, wildly important goals, the things that make all the big difference. So so yeah, I appreciate that. There does seem to be you know, the tendency to give some pushback, right? Like, it was squeeze one more in there. No, there's only so much bandwidth. So is there any other point about the value formula or your experience with it that you think might be important to people who are going to be watching this and attending this webinar?
Sure. So I would say start with what you know. Don't try to, or keep it simple. Don't try to be perfect with everything, because you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to know where to go for some of these things. So try to start with just what you know. And a quote that I hear, that I've heard from colleagues numerous times over the years is, don't let perfect get in the way of good enough. Sometimes good enough is what you need, and perfecting something isn't always going to be beneficial, because then you may spend too much time or resources on whatever it is you're trying to do. And I would just say communication is extremely important. Being humble and giving grace to people. Not everyone's going to be at the same point of where you're at today and whatever journey you're going through. And so communicating that it's okay not to be at the same place, but being honest and open and being humble about it is important.
I know that you tend to embrace the servant leadership mindset, and I think that that's a key aspect, that when you say about staying humble. The other thing, I'll just kind of point back to something you said earlier, which another person we spoke with talked about, is to take control of those things that you can control. we have the circle of concern, and we have the circle of influence. And if we focus on that circle of influence, things that we have control over, we can increase our influence. And I saw that in spades when I was working with you at Penn State, is that as you got better at the things that you wanted to get better at, that helped influence other organizations, the partners you had to work with and things like that. So yeah, very important aspect. And like you said, keeping it simple is often a challenge. Complexity is like ants at a picnic, just kind of like it shows up whether you want it to or not. So with that, I guess, we can kind of wrap up. If there's any other thoughts you have before Alan, shuts off the recording, feel free to share those, any, insights that you may have picked up along the way. I'm learning a lot from this exercise as well. So any other thoughts that you might be able to share, or any other insights that you might have, happy to hear them.
Yeah, sure. So I just appreciate the opportunity to speak here. And it's been a really good experience overall working with Penn over the years, and applying some of the concepts within the value formula book that he's put together for us. Another topic that I really didn't talk about, the one concept around leverage. I really lean towards that one a lot, because sometimes you need to figure out what resources do you have that are available to you, and you may not even realize it without talking to other folks. So just because you don't know about it doesn't mean you don't have access to something. So how do you leverage your relationships within the organization can be super critical to success within your team and for yourself. So finding how do you leverage resources, whether it's people that can provide knowledge, or resources, or tools that you can take advantage of that your organization has available. And I think that's a really key part of something that I've taken away from my time with you, Ken, is how do you leverage what's available to you, even if you don't know it is.
Absolutely. So, and of course, that you can always reach out to me if you ever had a question, or if I can help you with something, right?
Yep.
That's good. I'm here to leverage. So, and that's the other thing, it's been interesting to see how, and to hear how people have been leveraging the information and the model of the value formula. Yeah, definitely. All right. That was outstanding. Thank you for those insights, and for your experience, and for sharing those. I sincerely appreciate it. It's an honor to have been a tiny part of the progress that you've been making over the last several years, and it's fun to see you moving your career along. It's like I said, it's very gratifying to see that. I know I give you all the credit, obviously, but it's nice to kind of be a little part of that.
You definitely deserve some kudos, though, Ken.
Yeah, I appreciate it very much.